Easy now, fellow Gunners. Sire, how unusual is this, people? We're going to start a Gunner Talk with a smile. That's a rarity these days. Happy days. What a good result that was last night, 3-1. Shame we give away a real scruffy, clumsy goal early doors. We got caught rattled. Heads not switched on early doors, but that last goal just right at the death. That could be massive. In my opinion, I think we had to take sort of a 2-goal lead there, going over to them next week. Let's get into it. Unai, first off, I thought he did it. He's took some hammer last few games. People saying it's his fault, we're not playing great. I'm not one who buys into that, to be honest. Yes, he's not infallible. He has made a few mistakes this year, but I can count them on one hand compared to how many things he's got right. And credit to him, yesterday, because things weren't working really particularly well in the first half, and his substitutes, I thought, changed the game. So another little feather in his cap yesterday for me, and another reason to believe he is the right man in charge. I do have a couple of niggling doubts about him, but on a whole, I definitely think he's the right man to take us forward, at least for the next year or two. And he's definitely getting a good length of rope from me anyway, and I won't be hammering him. I said to you guys when he turned up, he'll be getting 2 or 3 years grace from me before I start getting on his back, and that hasn't changed. I can only give him a glowing reference for this season. We're in a top 4 race. We've got 1 foot into a Europa League final now. Nothing but a go on, lad. Let's get into the players. Checking that. It's not a situation this that I'm particularly comfortable with. This, guys know my thoughts on, I don't know how I usually explain it, but it's not. For me, it's not good to play people, on what's best for them rather than what's best for the club. So I'm not overly happy with this situation that he's starting, because I don't think he's anywhere near as good a goalkeeper as Leno. And when it comes down to it, we're here to win a trophy, not to give Petr Cech a good send-off. But he did well last night for me. His kicking's absolutely garbage. I think he only got 3 of his 17 kicks went to somebody last night. I'm sure that's a stat I saw last night, which is horrendous. I mean, that is literally just punting it. And that, I'm sure that's very different to the stats you see week in, week out on Leno, where there's the trust that you can give him the ball and he can actually control it comfortably and then pick somebody out. Not saying he, hits somebody every time, but I'm sure his numbers are a hell of a lot better than that. But Petr, he made a great save last night, which kept us in the game. It was really crucial. And if he can keep up those performances, I don't have a massive complaint about it. It's just I have at the back of my mind that feeling that if he makes a massive mistake, I don't want for us all to be able to go, well, we told you we should have played Leno, he's the better goalkeeper. And for the first goal last night, I couldn't help but think that last night. I thought, Leno would have done better there, he'd have had more command of his area, blah, 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 but that's hindsight FC, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I thought he did really well. And hopefully he can keep that up now for 2 more games, and we can give him the send-off we want, not for his own personal benefit, for ours, and if it benefits him as well, fair shits, and he gets a nice send-off. As in my opinion, up there in the top 5 best ever keepers he's ever been in the Premier League. Maybe not for us, but for Chelsea, he was. Those first 3-4 years he was there, I can't remember him letting many. He was just a match winner every week. Like De Gea was. After his first shaky season, less said about him at the moment, the better. But I was impressed with him last night. Right back, Ainsley, he's just his usual dynamic self, and he's smashing up and down that side, working his bollocks off. He looked a little bit lost again last night, a little bit out of his depth, but that's at the time where I just look back and say, he's not a right back, and he's doing an absolutely stunning job filling in for Hector. And it just shows we need a backup right back, guys. I don't know how we can get away with not getting one, in my personal opinion. And the way we play and the way our chances are created through our style of play, it's all from wing backs. And Hector is, he was in very good form when he got injured, and it was a sickener. And that's why we need a proper backup to him, in my opinion. Someone who's who's comfortable playing there, who feels right in their own skin in that position. And for me, Ainsley isn't that player, although he's doing a stunning job filling in for him. But Hector's a massive miss, and we've got to get him back fit. Hopefully, he doesn't miss too much of the start of next season, because I want us to get off to a flyer. But yeah, Ainsley, he did a great. He did a good job for me. Obviously he's going to make the odd mistake. That's just how it is, because he's not in his own position. And it's not his role. He's doing his best. But I couldn't help but notice, especially in the first half when things weren't going particularly well, I felt, my own personal opinion at half time was I would have switched to a back four, thrown Mustafi at right back and shoved Ainsley in the middle of the park, because I can't help but feel when I watch him pounding up and down, and he gets in front of a player, and he is someone who's got the pace and the stamina to go past people. We're wasting him, not playing him in the middle of the pitch, and that's what I felt we needed. Where that was a game last night where we weren't under the cosh massively in defence, but we weren't. Our midfield was, guys, my issues with our midfield. He was getting walked through again and wasn't really particularly dynamic and creating much. And I think if we'd have shoved Ainsley there, just his energy, I think he could have been a real driving force in freeing up Mesut a little bit, and then us becoming really creative. And I think we could have banged another couple in last night if we'd have had that dynamic force in the centre of the park. That's just my personal opinion. But another solid performance for him. Mustafi, he played all right, didn't he, guys? Like I keep telling you, that's not my issue with him. I'm not someone who thinks he's completely terrible. I know he can put in 7, 8 out of 10 performances, but it still boils down to the fact that I wouldn't trust the guy as far as I could throw him when it comes down to sink-or-swim situations, and last night still a couple of really stupid empty-head fouls that he just doesn't need to give away, and that's what terrifies me is, a lot of the time it's picking up a booking, giving away a free kick in a dangerous position, giving away a penalty, giving away a goal, and that's what I can't cope with him, and why I want to see him gone. Nothing to do with that he's completely shit and he never turns up. Like last night, it's 7 or 8 out of 10, definitely. And one of our, apart from Cos, he was our best defender, but that's not my issue with him, guys. And he is still one that I definitely want to see out the door, no two ways about it. But he was decent last night, no two ways about that. Socrates, he was just average last night. A little bit clumsy at times. But maybe he's another one that we've just had to lean on a bit too much this year, and the season's catching up with him in his legs. But yeah, he was only a 5 or 6 out of 10 for me last night, and he got carried a little bit by the boys either side of him, in my opinion. Bosch Elney, Cos the boss. Same comments apply. He's been a cracking servant. I think he carried us for a couple of years where we were really shot at the back, and this guy was carrying us. And he's someone who I will definitely be applauding when he leaves. If that's the end of this season, he wants to go back to France or the season after, he will definitely get a standing ovation for me. And someone who I think is much closer to being a legend than Aaron Ramsey is. Not that I'd say either were, but this guy definitely deserves a pat on the back for everything he's done for us. And I thought he was pretty monumental last night, to be honest. Definitely a solid 8 out of 10. He just, he'll put his head where people won't put their feet comment. He will take a baseball bat up the arse for us, won't he? He's that type of guy. He definitely bleeds Arsenal as far as I'm concerned. I thought he was a big reason for us getting the win last night and just shoring things up a little bit, and especially in the second half. Can't deny that. And like I say, I if we're only bringing in one centre back next year, I hope that's in replace of Mustafi. And then we gave Cos just a 1-year extension if he's not determined to go back to France at the end of this year. And then we use him sparingly as a backup, cup games, him and Holding next to each other, and then we have Socrates and somebody else in the first team, or Holding and somebody else in the first team, and Koscielny and Socrates as backup in the cups. That'd be a very, very strong centre-back pairing, for early round FA Cup, all the way in the Carabao, early stages of Europa, and into this stage, it's working for us in the Europa. If we make Champions League, it's a little bit different, isn't it? But he's definitely a decent squad player for me until we find, we're not going to get 2 centre-backs in this window, so he is the one where we just keep him for a year, and then at the end of next season it gives us another window then to find another centre-back, takes the pressure off a little bit, and we're not adding too many first team players in one hit where they've all got to pull it out the bag straight from the minute they turn up. Left back Kolasinac, I saw he took some stick last night again, and I can't get my head round it. People were calling for Nacho to come on, and it's like, what? That should never be an opinion anymore. A year ago maybe, not now, not in a million years. This lad, just watch how our chances are created. They're all from down his side, and that shows the weakness when we've got no Hector. Is that everything? It's just all down the left-hand side every time. His crossing wasn't great last night, but when it mattered, he put in an absolute worldie cross, Beckham-esque, didn't he? Right on the money. How important that cross was, and Oba knocking it in at the back post. And for me, he's one of the players, for me, I feel we can depend on a little bit. You know what you're always going to get from him. Yes, his crosses might not be great. Yes, he might get caught napping once or twice in a game, but you can guarantee he will be running his arse off for 90 minutes solid. I saw somebody say last night, Cos on one leg or something. Cos on one leg looked less tired than Kolasinac does. And I thought, yeah, well, because Kolasinac's going up and down the pitch 100 times a match, where Koscielny isn't. I thought it was such a stupid comparison for somebody to try and give to sort of discredit him. Yes, he does always look knackered, but for good reason. I'd be linked up to a heart monitor if I was doing the amount of running this kid is. I just don't get that, and I don't get why people would choose to pick on him. And he is someone for me that he's a very dependable first team / squad player, and somebody I certainly wouldn't be thinking of getting rid of, not in a million years. If we play a back four, he wouldn't be my first choice left back, but neither would Nacho. And when we play 5 at the back and we have a left wing back, he would definitely be my first choice. So for me, like I've kept saying, we need a left back as far as I'm concerned. But good solid performance from him last night, definitely a 7 out of 10 for me. Then he doesn't go great here now. Middle of the park, Xhaka and Guendouzi, not the strongest of partnerships, and people say I hate Xhaka. I don't hate anybody, guys. I really don't. I can see that he's not good enough, and people tell me he bosses the play, he runs the midfield. Well, where was he again last night? He had the worst 20 minutes of anyone I can remember this season, apart from Ainsley in the second half against Everton. It's just all over the place. And guys, if you're gonna hammer me and send me messages telling me I can go and fuck myself and I'm a dirty mank cunt and I should support United or City and all the rest of it, instead of hammering me, just watch his performances. So it's like me, first half last night watching, and just watch what he does. And he does it 50 times a half, which is he'll be in his midfield position. He's not in a bad position. Then he senses danger coming from a player. The player on the ball, he approaches. Now, he hasn't got the pace to get there quickly, so he meanders over. He gets within 2 metres of that player. They play the ball in behind him. Then what happens? He just turns around and jogs back. And that happens 100 times a game. And it's why I can't have him as a first-team midfielder for us. He's got no dynamism whatsoever. He's got no real legs. He plods. And it's not a good plod either. Like Guendouzi, he's not got a high top end. He plods. But it's a pacey plod. There's a bit more to it, and he's doing a lot more of it. He's not got a high top end either, but he's so much more active than Xhaka. It's unreal. And if we were going forward, there's only one who I would pick if it's a choice between the two, and it'd be Guendouzi every time. He's took some stick the last few weeks, and people saying he's shit, he's not good enough, he's bang average. Guys, this is a 19-year-old that's come from French Division 2 football, who we have leaned on massively this season. Go back to the first 4 months of the season and how much this kid played and how well he played and how many of us were saying, forget Wiltshire, forget Rambo, forget this, forget that. This kid's the real deal and he's going to be one of the best midfielders there is knocking about. My opinion on that hasn't changed. And like I say, go back and watch my video from right at the start of the season where I said, what I don't want to see with him is him getting thrown in the deep end, asked to sink or swim in big games because he's too young, his shoulders aren't broad enough to carry it, and at some point he'll sink. And that's, for me, that's all that's happened this year now, is in these last few weeks, last few fixtures, he's run out of juice, he's running on empty, the kid. And it's why I would just be using him as an impact sub now to the end of the season. But what a servant he's been this year. He's been massive for us, guy, and I can't believe how quickly people are turning on certain players. And I saw it yesterday, people get Guendouzi off at half time. If you were looking at him at half time yesterday instead of Xhaka, it's you that has an agenda, not me, because that's just being blind to the obvious that there was only one person that should have got up to half time yesterday, and it was Xhaka, because he was crap. And for me, his performance didn't pick up. I had somebody that sent me some stats last night, and I'm a big believer in stats. Some of you guys know I love my horse racing. Facts, figures, form. I'm all for it, but it only tells you a certain part of a story. And you can show me a stat that says Xhaka completed this many passes. He did this, he did that. Yeah, but I could just stand in front of a back four and knock the ball between me and the centre back for 10 minutes. So does that show you I'm playing any progressive passes? Yes, my pass accuracy is 90%, but what are those 90% of passes actually creating or bringing to the team? Nothing. And that's my issue. I just don't think he's good enough. Don't hate him, don't have an agenda. It's just, I was looking at our midfield again, especially second half when Torreira came on. And that'll be us next year, in my opinion. It'll be Torreira and Ozil, because Ozil's obviously not going anywhere. So with those two, we need a dynamic box-to-box midfielder. And that's why I wanted to see Ainsley get a chance there in the second half yesterday. Just someone with some legs and real energy. I'd prefer somebody a bit bigger and a bit stronger, to be honest. Again, Rabiot screams out to me, but Rabiot, Decore and Ndombele, someone like that just can drive it. Yaya Toure is the perfect example of that sort of player for me. And that's what we need to be looking for in midfield in the first team. Or I don't think we're going to progress very much again. It's just a harsh reality. I'm not being downbeat. I'm not being miserable. I just don't see us being any closer to title contenders with Granit Xhaka in the middle of the park. And that's just how it is for me. I'm not going to go on about him forever, but he's just not up to it, guys. Back up. If we played sort of him next to Chambers or Bellick next season in cup games at Carabao Cup, whatever, I could see it working. But as a first teamer next to Torreira with Ozil in midfield, it's not happening, guys. That's a dead midfield for me. It was the same last night. Any team with someone with a little bit of legs, we saw it with Leicester, we saw it with Palace, we saw it with Wolves. Any team that's got decent pacey ball carriers that can carry it through the middle of the park, we are fucked. We are absolutely fucked. And it was the same a bit last night. They had a centre-back playing in the middle of the park, just dancing through the middle of the... it's not good, guys. It's not good. And he was the worst player on the park for me last night, easily. 2 out of 10 for me. And he gets one of those for the assist. But for me, that's pretty much the only thing he did in the game last night. I got an inbox last night from somebody saying, see, you got an assist, take that, you silly mank twat. And it was like, all right, so one assist in a game, he's been the invisible man for 27 minutes, makes up for it, does it? Well, all right, mate. Fair enough. He's just not up to it for me. And like I say, in my opinion, in the off-season, he is someone who we probably could get quite decent money for, 30 million, a bit more. Let's go out and get that, add another 10 million to it from what we'd get for El Nene, and go and get a dynamic box-to-box midfielder, and then we'll use Bellick, Ainsley, Chambers, Willock, use these guys in El Nene's spot. No-brainer for me, guys, that's it, not going to go on anymore. Mesut, I was happy with him last night. I've never bought into this lazy Mesut Ozil stereotype. I've never felt he's lazy. He's just another one of those players that he plays the game that easily and freely. It makes him look lazy. People used to say the same about Berbatov or Bergkamp. Those they're just majestic Rolls Royce sort of players. They don't need to sprint about like madmen because they do all the work on the ball. I thought he was decent last night. It's one of his better performances this year for me. I thought he was really good. Well, not really good, but I thought he was very, very solid, and a big reason, that front three. It's just a good job we've got 3 real quality players, top end. Whether you say Mesut's not world class anymore, on his day he is definitely. With the right supporting cast, and the 2 lads up front for me are definitely touching world class, if not world class. They back it up with the stats down the years. But yeah, I thought he was a big part of why our play flowed last night. And why we looked creative for the first time in a couple of months, where we looked like we could pretty much score on every chance we had. Every counter attack. So, like I say, the news that he's obviously happy to stick around, because I don't think he thinks he can get paid what he's on here anywhere else. We can't force him out the door. And how many suitors would we have for a Mesut Ozil at his age, probably on the money he's on, and what we'd probably want as a bit of a fee for him. I can't imagine there's many suitors out there, guys. I think we'd be very lucky. So he's staying. So for me, him and Torreira have to be part of our midfield 3 next year, and that's why we need one more body at a first team to take Xhaka's place. 2 lads up top. Double salute to the gunmen. Go on, boys. My strikers. I mean, come on, these guys have the limited service. I was sat thinking last night, if we'd have had two genuine wingers, even just Smith Rowe and Nelson, or Nelson and Saka, or even our youth players, just genuine pacey wide men whizzing the ball in. God knows how many goals these two guys could have created and bagged between the two of them. What is it now? 60 goals and assists between both of them this season. I mean, what a turnout that is for, I think we've been a very limited attacking side this year in a lot of the games. 80% of games, I think we've been very dry up top. And we've just needed the wonderfulness of these two when they get a chance to carve it out and bag it, which they have done on many occasions and pulled us out the shit. I saw that about Laka the other night, that, what was it, 28 times I can't think exactly what it is, I'm going to get it wrong, but it was something like 28 points or 28 times he's come up with a big moment this season, and it was miles ahead of anybody else in the league. When you compare who else is in the league, your Agueros, your Kanes, your Sons, your Hazards, your Salahs, your Manes. Stop disrespecting him, people, because this guy's a world-class striker. I've been, well in his camp all year. I was so chuffed we signed this guy. Such a workhorse, and people say, oh, well, he missed this chance, he missed that chance. You just watch him, for fuck's sake, And again, last night, just his hard work and his graft, and, if everyone took a leaf out of his book, we'd even in games we can't win, the results would get less embarrassing. What a guy. I'm so happy to have him, and we should be building a team around this guy. Unai should be looking and going, right, this guy, we can play him up front for the next 4 years. Let's build him a team around him, worthy. Whether it's those two up top, or for me, Laka starting and Obra's backup, we need to get some genuine wingers in and a supporting cast in midfield that can really propel these lads to show everybody that they are two of the best strikers in the world. And when they've got that support, we can bag, we can become that team again that, a lot of us used to love, that cavalier football that, if you score 2, we'll score 10. These two guys up front are capable of scoring 10. If we put 20 chances on a plate, we'll come out of a game with 10 goals. No two ways about that for me. Oba, you guys said I've been pretty underwhelmed by him for a couple of months. He really stepped up last night, and he was a big part of, I thought, that front three of Ozil, Laka and Oba, the quality of, the real quality players we've got are those three, and it shined through last night. They carried us as far as I'm concerned. And I thought it was at that goal celebration of Laka where he had Guendouzi and Oba on his back. That symbolised him this year. Definitely player of the season for me. Just all guts, no glory every week. I absolutely adore him, and he's the first player that I've felt like that for in the best part of 10 years. I don't really have an affinity towards many Arsenal players. Don't love him the way I used to, because I don't feel like their heart's in it. This guy is, and he's got my full backing for as long as he wants it. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. Go on over, Laka. But yeah, these two boys, we've got to. I felt this way when we got Mesut and then we got Sanchez, and it was right. Build a team around these guys quick. While we've got them in the prime, build a team around them. Let's not waste them, and we wasted them. Let's not do the same with these two. Oba, the window's not that big for him anymore, but we've probably got 1-2 good years out of him left. Same with Mesut. We've probably got 3 or 4 out of Laka, maybe 5. We haven't got these. This is where I said we're in a lot more trouble than a lot of people realise, because we're going to have to sort of transition, from a very average squad to a decent squad, but then try and get a quality first team. So by the time we've got a decent squad, these guys aren't leaving, and then we've got to replace them again. That's where it's a real juggling job for Unai, and he's not going to get 4 years to bring through, develop youth, and because by the time he's done that, he's going to have to do it for another striker, another centre attacking mid, a centre back, because Cos will be going. There's loads of players there that are of that age. If you look, like Czech going. Monreal, Cos, Socrates, Mickey, Ozil, Oba, they're all at that age, guys, where 2 years, we're going to have to replace all of them over the next 2 years, in my opinion. So it's a real tricky job for him, but I have every faith in he's the man to do it. And yeah, I was really happy with these two boys last night. I thought they took the chances really well. People could say, well, Laka should have had 4. Yeah, well, he could have had 4, but he got 2, and that's all that matters to me. Frustrating again that he didn't. I thought he deserved a hat-trick last night, and I thought it'd be apt for him. You know, the way he's gone about his business all year, the way he just keeps grinding no matter whether the chips are down. He deserved that hat-trick last night for me, and I thought that would have been a nice way to, you know, tip him over the edge for player of the season for me, you know, if he's not already won it hands down. That's it on those boys. Subs, Torreira, he's a big game changer. You know, people telling me, like say the stats that somebody sent me last night, and this guy telling me that Torreira goes missing in big games and that Xhaka's much more big game player. But was that not a big game last night? Or am I imagining that? Was that not a semi-final of Europa? And Xhaka did sod all in the first half. Second half, Torreira showed me why he's so much better player. Just his energy, his ability to win the ball back, his way he reads the game, his positioning, pisses all over him. You know, it's sad that I felt embarrassed when the armband was handed to Xhaka. I thought, this is why I feel our club's a bit of a banter club still, because that guy is our captain. He is our leader. Come on, God. Oh dear. Well, anyway, not getting back onto that, you know, with my agenda. But yeah, that was it for me, guys. You know, wasn't a Rolls Royce or a Bentley performance, was it? But it was, you know, it was an RS6. It was decent. You know, it wasn't standard. It was just a bit above it. But you know, the same little issues are there. You know, underlying, and you know, maybe a team that weren't starting with 6 centre backs might have, you know, stepped on the gas after that first goal and gone, these fuckers are rocking here, let's smash them. And for me, I think if Valencia had got a second, I think no matter how many we scored, I felt like that might have been us out of the Europa, but they didn't, and we turned it around. And it was nice that the boys actually, the chips were down last night, and I would have been not interested, and that's the wrong word because I'm glad we turned it around, but I'd love to see it again when it doesn't matter, in theory, if our goal wouldn't have come pretty quickly, and you know, when half time had turned up and we were still 1-0 down, to see how the lads had reacted. I think that was so key, getting a quick reply, because I feared for us. I really did. You know, it's like that meme of the guy out of Grand Theft Auto. Oh shit, here we go again. And as soon as that goal went in, you know, piss poor defending. You know, we'd only just had a warning, you know, and it made me laugh. Just a dead ball, and everyone's in a perfect line, and they all step out, and once again what happens, one player steps backwards instead, and it wasn't my good old mate Mustafi this time, it was my other best mate Xhaka. He's stepping back 2 yards and he played them all onside. Rodrigo first time whipped it in, and I don't know how, was it Soler? I don't know how he missed, don't know. You know, we should learn from that sort of thing, go, right lads, you know, that was a warning. We didn't, you know, and just such a simple dead ball situation again, and just back post, you know, 3 players, Xhaka, who else was it? There was 3 of them there, and their one player still rises and gets to it, and it, you know, that makes my piss boil. But you know, Steve Bold, he's got a lot to add. I can't see how he remains at the club. I told you guys, he must just be there for translator purposes and player relations, you know, getting messages across that, you know, maybe the coaching staff can't get across perfectly in English yet, I don't know, but he's certainly not doing any defensive coaching, because we're still an absolute fucking shambles. And it's something that's got to change, you know, no matter what the personnel is. We can't keep playing an offside trap when everybody doesn't step out at the same time. You know, look at our historically good defences. They had it down pat, you know, when they were perfect unit, out, back. And we don't have that at the minute. It's not about personnel, you know, it's about the training and you know, the regime that's there, and, you know, getting that drilled into him no matter who plays. For me, it's a pretty simple concept. You just look along a line. You know, your centre back should be saying, right, boys, it's here. Here's where we hold it. And it's just out. As soon as that ball's in, we're out. And that's obviously not happening, you know. And that's what worries me, is we've got to really tidy up and let, you know, my old gripe of that just one ball over the top. We've got to get wise to it. You know, we've got to stop getting caught out by it. I'd love to know how many goals this season we've conceded have come from just one ball over the top to start off with or to end. It must be, you know, I've got to believe that's over 60%, definitely. But I'm going to get away from the negatives, because we got the result last night, and we, you know, yes, we've had 3, you know, absolute stinker results in a row. You know, and the league might have got away from us a little bit, but we keep pulling it out the bag in the Europa when it's needed, and we did last night. So well done, boys, because I thought you'd crumble last night. I really did, and that's my bad as a fan. You know, that's where I should have had faith in you lads, but you've not given me many reasons to have it. over the last few weeks. But you gave it me back last night. I'm back feeling it. Weekend, Brighton, let's do this. That is a team. They're going to play hardball. They're going to try and stop us creating. And they will look to weasel. They need a result. And they're going to look to get it by any means necessary. We're going to have to be clever. We're going to have to grind it out for me. I don't see us going there walloping them. I think, we're going to have to grind out a 1 or 2-0 if we can. But this is, for me, the most winnable of our last 2 games. Burnley have probably got a little bit less to play for. But they will make it near impossible for us. And that's another game where I think we'll have to get an early goal. But, hey, that's it. Onwards and upwards. Up the arse. Come on, boys. Let's finish with a little bit of a flair and a little bit of a bang. And go into next season on a high. And the biggest way to do that is Champions League football and a big fucking shiny trophy to win to end the season. And it'd be our first European trophy in 25 years, I think, mate, off the top of my head. Yeah, it's got to be about that. And that's massive for us. It's the same as you look at your Klopps and your Pochettinos, and we're talking about are these guys doing good jobs? Yes, they are. They're improving those clubs. You can't deny that. But they've not given enough credence to just getting your hands on a bit of silverware and what that means for momentum. And Klopp did it this year. He put all of his eggs in baskets, and he shouldn't have done. That where he played a weak side in the FA Cup or the Carabao, whatever it was. These 2 managers should be both looking and going, we've got no trophies here. In 9 years between the 2 of them in this league, they've not got a trophy. Carabao Cup. Why is it not good enough? Call it a tin pot trophy. It's a trophy, and no tin pot trophy is tin pot until you've had your hands on one. We can say it's a tin pot trophy. Chelsea can, City can, United can. They've won the big stuff. You guys haven't been relevant for winning trophies for such a long time. I was still in short trousers, and that's why I have to laugh at these clubs, because yes, all right, Liverpool very close to winning the league. They still might win the league. Yes, they were getting pretty close to winning the Champions League. Same with Spurs, they're not a million miles away from it happening, and they could still turn that round against Ajax. I've got a bad feeling they will, but I don't see them beating Barca in the final, or if Liverpool manage it, I don't see them beating them either. But it still might end as a big fat blank, and I'd rather not get that far in those trophies and take a Carabao Cup home, and get the lads on a podium and that winning feeling of spraying a bit of champers, non-alcoholic champers. And spraying a bit and getting that vibe of right, we can win stuff. We know what it feels like, and that for me is a big thing. We have that bit of mentality through them FA Cups. People can can try and downplay those. And I know Arsenal fans do it, and it's not been the greatest highlight of my life following Arsenal. A few FA Cups down the years, but it's still a big trophy. And if you said to a lot of fans, would you take FA Cups each year? Of course they would. You've got to remember, not all teams are winning trophies every year. It's only down to a select few. There's only 4 or 5 times a year you can win one, and you want to be one of those sides, no matter which one it is. Like Community Shield's another one. It's not a massive thing. It's not, only 2 teams get to play for it, so it's not a big thing. But it's a nice way to start your season with a nice plaque. But like I say, people don't give enough credit to that sort of thing for me. So if we can end this season with a European trophy, where people call it the Banter Cup, it's a tin pot trophy. I don't give a shit, guys. It's a European trophy, and I'll be cheering loud and proud if we lift it, and I can't wait to. And I'm very excited now to see us. We've got to do a number on Valencia in that second game. I don't care if we go for Unai's, really defensive setup. From what I saw from them last night, I don't see them scoring 3 goals against us without us scoring one. I don't see them beating us 3-1. It's just my opinion. Anyway, I'm waffling. I'm going to leave you 2 get guys to it. It's Friday. I'm a year old after my birthday the other day. It's another bank holiday weekend, so hopefully this weather cheers up, because it's shite here at the moment, typical Manchester weather. Take it easy, guys. Have a lovely weekend. Spend it with family, friends, loved ones, whatever. Si signing out. Take it easy, people.